Hello, this is Tom Tavid. I'm the Research Director for the Economic Development Coalition of Asheville-Buncombe County, and this is the current Asheville Metro Economy Update. Before I begin, I want to make sure to thank our sponsor, who is the buyer's agent of Asheville. I just have a few slides here that focus primarily on employment, and I think you'll see from this short presentation the severity of the recession that we are in right now, and also perhaps see some indications of the beginning of a turnaround. This slide shows unemployment rates beginning back in January of 2007 until April of 2009, which is our most current available data. The gray vertical bar is the official date of the beginning of the recession. That'd be December of 2007. And then you can see the unemployment rates of North Carolina, the 4-county Asheville Metro, the U.S., and the city of Asheville plotted across time. As you can see, in April of 2008, we began to see a rise in unemployment rates that was outside our normal historic band. And then in about September of 2008, a very rapid increase in employment rates. And then something I want to point out, and that would be in February of 2009, that rates peaked and began to decline. Now, normally we would expect a decline in employment rates in February, March, and April. But the decline has been more dramatic than in the past, and as I noted earlier, may indicate the beginning of the end of the recession. It's probably also worth noting how much higher the state of North Carolina unemployment rates are relative to the nation, metro, and city. And I think it's worth noting the Asheville Metro unemployment rates are above the nation. That's very unusual. As of December of 2008, rates bypassed the rates in the nation, and probably the first time, perhaps ever, that metropolitan rates have been above the U.S. We have good data that go back about 20 years, and usually unemployment rates in the Asheville metro area are well below the U.S. So there's been a bit of a switch in positions, and hopefully we'll begin to see that narrow and return to our historic levels below the nation here shortly. Here's total employment in just the Asheville metropolitan area. Again, same time period, and the vertical gray bar is the official beginning of the recession. And just like unemployment rates, you can see that as of about September or October, a very rapid decline or fall off in jobs, and then a leveling off in February and March, and a bit of a tick up in jobs in April. Now, if we were to focus in on where those new jobs in April have come from, we would see that leisure, hospitality, tourism related jobs, hiring is up about 200 jobs more than we would expect over that same period of time. So that may show that that industry may be beginning to lead us out of the recession. Also want to note these two red dots are April to April, so we can get a one-year job change. And as you can see that we've had a loss over the year of 8,500 jobs. That would be a decline of about 4.8%. Here's how the Asheville metropolitan area would rank for one-year employment change by percentage compared to the other metropolitan areas in the state, which are the blue bars, and the entire state of North Carolina and the U.S., which are the black bars. As you can see, that 8,500 job loss equals negative 4.8%, and that puts us at the higher end of percentage job losses, which is very unusual for the metropolitan area. Historically, the Asheville metropolitan area has had very mild declines in downturns. This is due primarily, the larger losses for our area is due primarily because of the broad base in the that this recession has hit industry sectors. It's almost hit all industry sectors, except for two sectors, and that would be government and then the sector which combines healthcare and private education. Those metros that had a larger portion of their economy in government, private education, or healthcare seems to have lost less in this latest recession, and that would be as exampled by Durham, Chapel Hill, Greenville, and Fayetteville. Also, it's probably worth noting, it's quite obvious, that there is losses that have been experienced by all metros, the U.S., and the state at this period of time. Here's a look at industry by industry, 1 year change. This is absolute change in jobs for just the Asheville metro. And as I mentioned before, the only sectors that have had any growth over the year were health services, private education, and government. For the Asheville metropolitan area, health services has made up the almost the total number of net job additions over the period, and private education has remained relatively flat. And then you can see a very small increase in government. No increase in the information sector. And then decreases all other sectors. Probably worth noting, because it stands out, is the professional business services sector, which has lost a total of 3,000 jobs over the last year. The professional business services sector, a good portion of that industry is made up in the temporary employment services. And as one would expect, those jobs were the first to go, and there were many of them in this recession. So to summarize briefly, hopefully you've seen the severity, historic severity of this recession that we are experiencing, and hopefully you've noticed, as I have, a bit of a turnaround in the latest few months, and we'll be following that in our next presentation as well. I want to also take this opportunity to remind you that in July 15th, it's a Wednesday, the Asheville Metro Economy Outlook, the 10th Outlook, will be presented. It's sponsored by Parsec Financial, and you can see some of the other sponsors' logos down below there. This is open to the public, no charge. We welcome you to attend, and we'll be looking at the outlook going in the future, and then detailing some of the information I've just talked about. The event starts at 5:30, runs for about an hour, and you're very welcome to come earlier at 5 o'clock for networking. And please feel free to contact me if you have any questions or comments about this presentation, and thank you for your patience.